everybody, and welcome to video 5 of our series, our sourdough series for busy moms. So you have learned how to make a starter, how to maintain that starter, how to make my easy 30-minute of hands-on bread method, and how to bake your sourdough. And now I'm going to be just showing you how to maintain a daily bread method if that's what you want to do. I'm just going to show you how I feed my starter, make my dough, and bake my bread every morning, how I fit that into my life, kind of what I do while one thing is being done, and keep this quick and easy so that you can bake your family a loaf of daily bread too if that is what you want to do. So let's go over our task management. In the mornings, I do mine in the morning. So I do this while I'm making breakfast, or just actually I do it right now just after I'm making breakfast because I have a baby that's waiting for me while I make breakfast. So I have to tend to him, and then as soon as that's done and I've eaten, then I come and do my bread. While I do that, I'm getting my kids started for school as well. So this morning I'm actually doing it a little bit later. I've already done my morning because I can't film at the same time. It's just too much. I've got enough time to make bread, but I don't have enough time to film and talk about making bread in the morning. So we need to bake yesterday's loaf. We need to feed the starter. But before we feed the starter, we need to we need to make the dough for tomorrow's loaf of bread. So I'm just going to show you kind of how to manage these tasks easily and the most efficiently that I have found for me. Again, you can mix this up. You don't have to do, if you want to do this in the evening while you're doing dinner, that's your call. But for me, the morning works better. Okay, so like you learned in our bread baking video, the first thing we're going to do is preheat our oven to 450 degrees to bake our bread and pull our dough from last night out of the fridge. And of course, we need to put our Dutch oven inside the oven to preheat with it. There's our happy little dough from last night that is going to sit on the counter while we do other things and come up to room temperature. I like to make myself a cup of tea or enjoy my coffee while I'm doing this because I find this process very relaxing, and it's just nice to make it sort of a ritual for yourself. So if you have a favorite drink that you can incorporate into your sourdough routine, it will make it so much more fun for you. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is place my bowl like I taught you in the bread making video, and we're just gonna make our bread really quick. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put my starter into my clean jar. You could totally feed your sourdough from just scrapings of a jar, but I'm going to build mine up so I can bake with it as well. I set that aside, I'll feed that in a minute, and I'm gonna go rinse this immediately, soak it in hot water. In my Instagram videos though, sometimes you see me making bread with one hand. It's usually just because I'm too lazy to take my wedding rings off. I don't want to get dough stuck in them. But I feel like that says something about this method. If you can make bread with one hand, then it's pretty good. Okay. So now that part is already done. Put our plate on it, 10 minutes. Hey Google, set a timer for 10 minutes. Okay, I immediately washed my dough hook as well because nobody wants to have to clean dried sourdough out of that. All right, so now I have 10 minutes to feed my starter. This is when I will do my feed. So I'm going to feed it. Again, if you missed any of these steps, in the previous videos, I taught you how to create a starter, how to feed and maintain your starter, how to bake my easy method of bread, and how to actually make your sourdough, and then how to bake it. And so now I'm just showing you how to manage all of these steps quickly and efficiently in one morning. The key is multitasking here. So when you have a little bit of time while your bread is resting, you can go and do other things in your morning. All right, starter is fed and it can go on the stove for the rest of the day. Normally, if I was going to bake with that sourdough discard, I would have done it in this period, but I only do it on mornings where I have time. Since I'm filming, I don't have time to bake, so I just fed it and put it back on the stove. And as long as you clean up the tools that you use when you go, it's really minimal mess. So far, everything's almost cleaned up. I have to rinse and wash my sourdough jar from yesterday, rinse my flour scoop, and we've got a pretty clean surface here still. One of the really good things about this method is there's time in between to clean, which then you can multitask and save time. So instead of cleaning all after, I'm just cleaning in between, and then by the time I'm done making the bread, everything's cleaned. And I'm done all my morning chores in the kitchen anyway. Okay, we're still in our 10-minute wait, and while I'm waiting for that, the oven is almost preheated, and so I'm gonna grab my parchment paper and go ahead and score my dough. All right. Today I think we're just gonna have fun with it, and maybe I'll make a flour today. Desperately wanting spring to arrive, so a flour in my sourdough sounds nice. It's currently very snowy and cold here still. The lovely thing about sourdough is you can be really imperfect with your cuts, and because it's on bread, it just turns out so pretty after. So it can look really professional or nice once it's baked, but it's really minimal effort to make pretty looking sourdough. There we go. Just cut a flower shape into the top of my sourdough. We'll see how that turns out. Now at this time, this needs a wash. Sometimes I'll use it twice before I wash it, so I'm gonna wash it right now. So by the time I need it this evening, it will be dry and ready. I always wash it by hand in my sink. That's all washed, and I'm gonna go put this in the sun. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes. I've got wet hands. I'm gonna grab my bowl. My oven will be finished preheating in just a minute here. But I have enough time to quickly knead this bread, this dough. Give it a quick knead. But as you can see, so many things can get accomplished in just that first 10-minute rest. We scored the dough, we cleaned up, got the oven preheated to bake. So I hope you can start to get an idea of how efficient this could be, as long as you have a good system going in your morning or your evening or whenever you're baking your bread. If I didn't have time to bake bread, if I was going out this morning, I would just bake it later in the day when I got home. I would just do this part really quickly, and then I would leave. And I would worry about baking that loaf later, because honestly, it can proof in the fridge for a little bit. It's not gonna kill it. It might not be your best loaf ever if you left it till the following evening, but it's not gonna be the worst loaf either. It's still gonna be good bread for your family, which is the whole point of this series. We're not being fussy. We're just trying to make good bread that tastes good to feed our family. Done with that. 30 minutes. It'll go sit now. Hey Google, set the timer for 30 minutes. I don't know what other people use their Google Homes for, but mine is my best friend in the kitchen. I use it for all my timers and just helping me stay on top of my tasks in the morning. I love it. Okay, so now the bread is in. The loaf for tomorrow is just resting for 30 minutes. I've got 20 minutes on the oven timer, so while that bread is baking, before I have to take the lid off, I'm gonna go throw in a load of laundry. This is when I would go assist kids, set them up with their next homeschool activity. We're actually ahead of again, I'm filming a little later than I normally would make my bread, so my kids are done school for the day. But yeah, you have 20 to 30 minutes right here to just go do what you would normally do in the mornings. There were so many bubbles in the other sink that they came up the other side of the sink. Okay, so it has been 30 minutes now. I threw in a load of laundry. I did some planning. I finished the bread. Well, almost finished it. Took the lid off. Got lots of done in that 30 minutes. Lots of done? Wow, I am awesome at language today. Okay, so now we're just gonna stretch our dough. Counter's clean, of course. I washed it. So this is why I call it the 30-minute bread method, because I really haven't touched the dough for very much time. I haven't spent a lot of time with the dough. Most of the time spent making sourdough, for me at least, is just waiting for it to rise on its own and proof. on the counter. Look at that good stretch. Again, I taught you guys how to do all of this in the previous videos, so if you haven't checked those out yet, make sure you go watch those so you know exactly what I'm doing if you're confused or you want to learn how to make your own sourdough like this. All right, happy little dough ball going into my bowl. Plate back on. I will see this again in 6 hours. Onto my stove, and now I just clean my surface. Perfect timing because there goes our bread, which is done now. All right, so that's today's loaf baked. Tomorrow's loaf is proofing on the stove. That'll sit there for 6 hours. Okay, you guys, and that's it. I'm done. I've baked today's bread. I've got tomorrow's proofing. I've cleaned up my surface. My kitchen is clean now. I just soaked my bread bowl that I made dough in for a little bit. I'll wash that later this afternoon or this evening with the dinner dishes. My starter is fed, and that is all of the daily tasks complete. So I hope this encourages you and gives you kind of a view into how you can accomplish multitasking and just incorporating your bread routine into your morning. It's not a ton of extra work. As you can see, it was easy to multitask in between waiting for the bread to just rest for a little bit, and now we're all done. Obviously, me filming added more time onto my normal routine, but it's about 40 minutes with the 30-minute rest and the 10-minute rest. So it's time I'm already spending in the kitchen, homeschooling the kids, tidying up, throwing in a load of laundry, doing all that stuff anyway. So for me, it's really easy to accomplish making that loaf of bread a day. As always, I hope this video was helpful. We are going to do one more video where I answer any questions you guys may have, troubleshoot any problems you guys might have come up with. So please, if you have any questions, leave them in any of the videos down below. I will address all the questions I get in the next video. But until next time, happy bread making. Again, please go watch the other part of this mini series if you haven't. If you bake your first loaf of bread and you are on social media, especially Instagram, please tag me. I would love to see, or send me a message. I would love to see your first loaves of bread. It's so exciting. I hope you feel encouraged to be able to bake your own sourdough for your own family. I hope after watching this series, you don't feel intimidated anymore. You see how easy sourdough can be. It is not complicated. It doesn't have to be very specific ways. I mess up and do little things wrong here and there, add too much of this or a little too little of this, and it doesn't matter. I'm still able to make beautiful loaves of bread for my family that are delicious, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters to me, is just, does it taste good? Does it feed the family? Yes? Awesome. Perfect. I don't need anything else. So I hope this series has been helpful for you. Tune into the next video where I answer all of your questions, and we'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.